Welcome to Life
On
Life's
Terms
with your host Justin
and Kenny.
Today's topics are going to be superstitions, encounters with the spirit world, and some of our aha moments.
Aha!
So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. How have you been?
I'm doing well. Doing really good.
Yeah, baseball. You're liking your baseball team?
Yeah, first game's at the end of this month. Go whoop some ass.
Is practice getting better? You had your first practice, you're saying?
Yeah, I had my first practice, and then, I don't know, man. I must be getting old or something, but my hip was all fucked. For 2 days after that, I was walking like an 80-year-old person that needed a hip replacement.
You might want to look at YouTube and see how to hit the ball properly. That might be the problem.
Yeah, maybe. I put my whole body into it to smash it.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, there might be more physics behind it than just putting your whole body behind it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, Babe Ruth was a real fat fuck.
But he knew how to hit the ball.
Yeah, man.
Right?
He never had to run to bases.
Yeah, he couldn't.
No, he just walked because he fucking cracked it out of the park. You know what I mean? And there wasn't steroids really back then. There is now. I mean, it's pretty rampant in Major League Baseball. I think everybody in Major League Baseball is pretty much on steroids. And now, you're starting to see that creep into to the fighting world. I mean, Cody Covington got fucked, son.
Yeah.
He got fucked. He got caught with an EPO in his bloodstream.
Yeah.
And now they're going back, I think, 2 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but yeah, I think it's 2 years. They found out that he's been using something.
So what happens then?
So that he has to give back his titles, but they're not going to take his money.
Oh, that's good.
And boxing, the old school boxing, when it was 15 rounds instead of 12. Yeah, every fucking dime you give back. Every dime. We don't give a shit if what you fucking spent it on. You're giving it all back, man.
Wow.
Yeah, Pride in Japan, I think. Well, I shouldn't say that. Pride in Japan, if they caught you cheating, they just look the other way because the Yakuza own that shit. It was for sure Mafia ran. And it was a big deal. I liked Pride way more than I liked UFC.
Yeah.
Hands down. The rules were better for somebody who was a striking guy than UFC. The rules are more amicable towards somebody who's a wrestler or a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
If you get a takedown in UFC, you get more points. Whereas in Pride, if you could scathe off the takedown, stop it, stuff it, you got points for that. They don't give you points for that in UFC.
Huh.
So if you could stop it, keep it standing and fuck the guy's face up. The other thing too was...
Did you watch the fights?
This weekend?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I think I was driving or something.
I went to it, but unbeknownst to me, there was a whole bunch of known gang members that were showing up. So I was like, well, it's time for me to go. I wanted to get out of there before some fucking cop was there taking my picture.
Was it a bar scene, or was it the fights? Because I think Edmonton had fights, boxing fights last weekend.
No, we went.
Oh no, they're coming up actually. The boxing.
It was the pay-per-view fight.
Yeah.
UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got out of there quick though. I did watch the fights.
If I go, my buddy Sonny over at Clinch Fight Shop.
Yeah.
He gets us a back room at a bar.
Cool.
And so if I get invited, I'll take you to that because that's really close and it's good people. And there's other pro fighters in the fucking room. It's something else. I remember watching pay-per-views at home, with the wife because I was married at the time. And that's a joke. You're just jumping off the fucking couch and you're kick his ass, blah, blah, blah. And then when I got into fighting, because I always boxed. And then when I got into MMA, recognizing what the fuck they were doing, you almost feel like a light version of Joe Rogan. And that time I did, because I just started learning what was going on. So it's look at that, he's gonna fucking, and you start calling things. And then now the sports progressed so much further that now I just hang around with fighters to a degree and we go watch these things and you'll see the fighters get right into it and they'll start telling you 4 steps what's coming.
Yeah.
Because they're so into jiu-jitsu now and wrestling or whatever that they can see the form of what's going on and they're watch this. He's going to fucking put his head into his shoulders and watch how he's going to flip him.
Yeah.
You're what the fuck? And then 2 minute or like 30, 40 seconds later, the guy's got his head like in there and he's ready to wrestle, like use a wrestling flip on him to fucking throw him on his back and then choke the shit out of him. Right. Yeah. It's pretty amazing to watch pro fighters kind of commentate or break down what's going on in the fight.
Yeah. No, like the guy that I went with, like he's a bodybuilder and he's done a lot of MMA fighting stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was doing that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, maybe I'm just not there yet when it comes to like the education of fighting, right? Like I've never taken any fighting.
Well, I think when it comes, like I don't watch the fights. Like I used to be almost religious with it. Every time there was a pay-per-view, I would go and I would get it, and I would, I was pretty religious about it. And then now, not so much. I mean, I'll go if I'm invited, but I don't make like I don't make it a thing. If I go to a live fight, I'll go to live fights before I'll go to a pay-per-view event. And I think the UFC has lost a lot. I think the Bellator may take the mantle from them. Like UFC just doesn't give a shit anymore. That's the feeling that I have. They just don't give a fuck anymore. They have a pool that's paying, and they really don't give two fucks anymore. It's changed a lot compared to what it was. And I think Dana White is more of he's not just a promoter, he's more of a persona, and that's too close to wrestling for me.
Yeah. I
would rather the sport be a sport than be realistic with a twist of wrestling. Fuck off. Like I mean, Tyson sold things because he would say, "I'm going to rape your fucking mother." You know what I mean? Like that's how he sold a fight because he was just a fucking psychopath. That's what Tyson was at that time. He even said he looked at everybody like they were just a warm meat bag.
Yeah.
Like that's who Tyson, and he sold fights because of that. And that rivalry definitely sells fights. But what we're starting to see now in UFC is like Dana White even like playing this fucking McMahon kind of role. And it's like, no, man, you're a promoter. Like, and then the other thing that bothers me about Dana White is he'll call his fighters out. Like live on the stage. It's like, well, you didn't fight. Like you have no idea what it's like to get in that cage, man, and drop your fucking soul. Like that's what it is. It's like your life is on the line in that fucking cage. That your opponent will kill you if you don't defend yourself accordingly.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt about it. And to like say, well, he didn't fight his heart out? Get fucked, man. Take one in the ass. Like, you don't have a fucking idea what it's like to get in there. Why? Because you did fucking boxercise in Boston? Fuck off. Like that's not the same fucking, that's not the same level, Even if you're training, you've never even walked into the big show. But you're like a sparring partner for those guys. Those fucking guys will kill you when sparring. Like even in sparring, they're there to fucking chop a head off, man. They're not there to like, oh, let's do this slow. No, it's fucking full tilt, son. like they're not fucking around,
Yeah.
So I have a real issue. That's my issue with UFC, and I have a hard time watching it. I have started to enjoy things like Glory. Unfortunately, kickboxing just isn't taking off in North America like it did in Dutchland or Thailand, or those places, or even like France, But I love, I remember there's this guy Ernesto Host. That's how you say his name. He's from Dutch. He's a Dutch kickboxer.
Yeah,
this guy would break your leg with one kick. I'm not kidding you. He did a Grand Prix. Where he fought 3 times in one night, and he broke all 3 guys' legs in the first 30 seconds by kicking their fucking leg.
Wow.
Like went right through their calf, underneath the knee, first kick. Like a fucking knife like a hot knife through butter. Boom, and you just see them crippled. They just drop, hit the fucking ground. He walked back. Like it was an easy night for him. Everybody else was busting their ass, and the next day they're tired, and he comes in 3 fights in, breaks 3 fucking legs. He's fought all of like a minute and a half in 3 fights, ready to rock and roll, and he just took the fucking Grand Prix. Like you couldn't beat him. And his legs, people would kick his legs. He'd check them, and you would see their legs fucking bruise. He'd check their legs, and like his opponent's leg is bruised from the kick. Like it didn't even faze him. Yeah, big deal. And when you saw his head, he had this big fucking massive head, man. Like he looks like he was close to Neanderthal, you know, because he had like just that big fucking like
furrowy eyebrows.
Well, like the big jaunting bone off of his forehead.
Yeah,
you know, and he was just, like his physique was incredible, like just incredible. Like he wasn't like there's athletes, fighters, and artists in the martial arts world, especially kickboxing. This guy looked athletic, but he's just a fucking stone cold fighter. He'd murk you, man. Like he got you lined up. It was all done. Like it was all done. He was a pretty serious guy. It was unfortunate when he retired. You know, I was hoping that he'd be like a Miracle Crow Cop and go till he's like fucking 50. But I think he had more brains than that, and he was like, fuck this, I made my money, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know? Superstitions. What kind of superstitions do you have?
If I go through a yellow light, I still catch myself sometimes reaching up and knocking on the glass.
What?
Yeah. Like...
How in the fuck does that stop anything?
Hey, I don't know. Like, but like from back in the day, like you get it from cruising around selling drugs like all hours of the night, you know, playing cat and mouse with the cops, right? Yeah. Like I had a superstition. Like you go through a fucking yellow light, you knock on the glass for like safekeepings.
Now, how did that save you at any time?
Well, like, you know, the times that I did get like jacked up or I ended up going to jail or something, right? Or I was like, you know what? I went through that yellow light earlier and I didn't knock. It fucked me over. That was silly, right? But then he was like, if I was driving and somebody was with me, I'd go through a yellow light, I'd knock. They'd be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, knock now, right? And I'd make them knock too. Yeah. I don't want their bad juju.
I think when I was in the lifestyle, I had more superstitious activity than I do now.
Yeah,
I lost a lot of that in recovery. I was like, fuck that. Like I said, I used to call my sponsor and I'd be like, what color of underwear do I need to wear today? And he's like, what? I was like, well, if I wear the blue ones, will it be a bad day? Or if I wear the green ones, will it even be a worse day? And I know it sounds so preposterous, but you really believe like that's the shit that makes your day. Right? Like you're like, it's not up to me. It's God's will, man. But what do I wear to appease him? Fuck off. He doesn't care. Like, he doesn't give a shit. Like he's not looking for a sacrifice here, man. You know what I mean? Like
no underwear.
Like, well, and then my sponsor would be like, why the fuck are you calling me at 5 a.m. asking me what color of underwear to wear? I'm like, because I got to work in 2 hours.
If I was your sponsor, I'd
he
fire
hung up.
you.
He hung up. He's just like, I'm not fucking dealing with this. I'm going to work. Like I'm not. So yeah. I think one of my biggest superstitions when I was running around is no more than 2 keys in the car. I thought that was like a golden. Yeah, exactly. You're like
2 keys or 3 keys or 4. Like,
it doesn't matter.
You're going to fucking jail.
Yeah. And then I started thinking to myself, as long as I don't use anything over 1.5 ounces of blow, I'm not gonna get caught. Then I also thought, they know I'm a drug dealer. I'm just better than the other violent fuckers that are out there.
Yeah, I'm just not as violent, so they choose to leave me alone.
Exactly, right? So, like, that's all preposterous. They don't give a fuck. Like, they don't give a shit if you're violent or not, really. All they give a fuck is they caught a caller. That's all they give a shit about at the end of the day, man. They got drugs off the fucking street. They don't give a shit if you're this person or this person. I mean, they definitely have a target list, but they don't give a fuck. Like, they don't give a fuck, man. And yeah. And then I also thought that if I changed my car every 3 days, I wasn't going to get caught either. And that was just... That's not real. I mean,
if you're under investigation, you're under investigation.
Yeah, like, and then the other thing I thought was if I got rid of my clothes every week, so I'd like throw away clothes every fucking week, and buy a whole new set of clothes every Saturday was my day. I'd go shopping on a shopping spree for the next 5 days. Unfortunately for me, I was a creature of habit. and I could only make it to Walmart. So there's only there's only like so many clothes you can buy from Walmart that's different. So eventually you start buying like the same Dickies pants or whatever it is in order to do shitty things. And then the other thing I used to do is I would only buy clothes that I was willing to burn. So like jogging pants and stuff like that. And then so that's what I would run around in, is just like clothes that I would drop in a fucking grocery bag to burn them.
Yeah. I still throw salt over my shoulder. Like if I spill it, I learned that from my grandma.
Yeah, but where does that even come from?
I don't know, and I don't know what the fuck it means either, but I still do it.
When I was a kid, I used to be afraid to step on a crack. Like a crack in the sidewalk?
Out of fear for your mother?
Yeah, and then when I got pissed off with my mom, I'd step on every single fucking one of them. Fuck you. You deserve it. And then, but my mom had a bad back when I was young. So it was like, then I took that all on. Like, it's all my fault.
Yeah, you did it. It was like crack you stepped on 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, right? Fuck. And then now I have really... I'm just trying to think. I don't think I have any superstitions anymore.
Do you lift your feet when you drive over train tracks?
No.
Did you ever?
No.
No?
What really broke me from all that was, look it, man, if you have that much power to create a good day, your name is probably God, and you shouldn't be doing what you're doing because you have bigger fucking problems to deal with. And so when I heard that, I was like for instance, so this was a superstition that we used to get all the time in survey. Because you could have a real shitty day or you could have a real good day. And it was all dependent upon what kind of survey evidence you could find. We're not going to go into what that is because it's just ridiculous. So anyways, I was working with this girl and I was looking at all the work for the day. I was like, fuck, it's going to be an easy day. She's like, you just jinxed us. I was like, you know what, man? If I have that kind of fucking power to fuck up the day, my name should be God and I shouldn't be doing survey. Like, I would have way bigger fucking problems to deal with than this bullshit of figuring out where a fucking landline is. Like, it doesn't matter. Property lines don't matter if I could dictate what the day is. You know, I can contribute towards positivity and I can contribute towards negativity. But to say that I can, like, manipulate what the outcome is, that's fucking crazy. It is what it's going to be. It's up to me to accommodate or accept what it's going to be.
Don't you believe that you can manipulate the outcomes?
No. It is what it is. It is what it is. I don't have, that's like a power of a god. I'm not God. I may be in his image, but I'm not a god. And if I were to think that would be like me saying, well, tomorrow I'd really like it to be sunny. All right, we'll try to make that fucking work.
Well, what about like Medicine Man doing a rain dance?
Well, again, I mean, I think you can contribute, but I don't think you're the ultimate. And how many shaman were murdered? They would just murder them. You're wrong. Okay, dead. Well, that's what they used to do with medicine people in the Aboriginal community. Like back in times when we were talking about like the 18th century and the 19th century, that's what they did. Yeah. They were wrong. Fucking kill them. So like, you know how many shaman died because of smallpox? Fucking many medicine men died because of that. Didn't have a cure. Kill them. That's how archaic that was. Right? So like, we have to recognize that, you know, like I said, Go make it be sunny tomorrow if your weather app says it's going to be fucking raining. I mean, the likelihood of that happening, and if it does happen, it's not you. It just happened. You know what I mean? Like, there are things in this world that you have no control over, and it's going to happen, right? That's where I realized superstition didn't... I stopped reading horoscopes. I stopped reading all that bullshit because I started realizing that superstitions didn't matter a goddamn thing. The only thing that mattered is what I could present to life. If I'm positive, I can represent that in life. If I'm negative, I'll represent that in life. It's up to me to be conscious about what I'm giving off. Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't want Jason Kenney or Rachel Notley to win the fucking election. I don't want any of those fucks to win the election. I'd rather see it become archaic. Nobody vote for anybody, and they all recognize that The populace doesn't like any of them. What's the likelihood of that happening? Fucking none. None. That ain't happening. Somebody's going to be picked as a crowned person to run this province by the end of Tuesday. That's what's going to happen. I mean, I don't want it to be that way, but the likelihood of me like meditating about it, and I mean, fuck, man, those are futile efforts. I mean, how many times have I hung my drunken ass into a fucking toilet bowl, puking my brains out, saying to God, I'll never do it again. And until the next day when I was doing it again. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It took actual work for that not to be there.
Yeah.
So if I want to contribute to society in a metaphysical way or a energetic way, like energy-wise, I need to concentrate on that, not about what the outcome is going to be. Because the outcome itself, you can meditate. Like I said, I've meditated about fights all the time, and I've never lost a fight. But that was probably predestined to be. It was what it was going to be. And the times that I lost from a TKO, I still thought I was going to fucking win. If I didn't, why the hell was I in the fight?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many times have you saw something how many times have you gone to trial and it didn't go your way? You didn't think walking in a trial that it was going to be like, you fucking knew. It's a 50-50 chance here, man. Like, as much as you want it to be good, and you push, you try to put good vibes into it or whatever. I mean, fuck, it can go either way. That's the realism. That's being realistic. You hope for the best. And if it goes the other way, well, accept and overcome,
I think I can control the outcome.
Well, I bet you would.
Like if I really like focus on like the energy aspect of the feeling and the visualization and the faith, like the belief of it, and like I know that it doesn't work all the time, but the times that it does work, I like, bam, I fucking did that. I made that happen.
Well, but that could be a consciousness of ego, right?
For sure.
Validating that I can do this. But the reality is that's a self-deception of denial, right? Because it's a self-deception saying that I've created that when you're batting maybe 4 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, maybe even 9 out of 10 that week.
Yeah, but you got to look at it like we create everything like up to this point. We right now in this very moment, our lives are an accumulation of the decisions and thoughts that we've had and made. And we could be in a different spot today had we have made different thoughts and decisions. So really we do, like, in my perception, I feel like we do create the reality around us at all times.
So you're more in line with that this is just a matrix.
Yeah, I and other than from like watching the movie The Matrix or listening to the audiobook The Divine Matrix, like I don't know what the fuck the Matrix is, other than like I think we are all interconnected and that we can influence and manipulate our lives using energy work. I believe that.
So that's where Aleister Crowley came from. And if you look at what Aleister Crowley was, he was a Satanist, like hands down. And so when we cross that line of being able to be a god, because that's essentially what that line is, it's in a very strange place. And the reason why I would say that is because if we're going to talk about, even to segue into encounters within the spiritual world,
yeah.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Do you think you could see Satan if it was sitting in front of you? If Lucifer was sitting across this table from you, do you think you'd be able to depict it? You think you'd know?
Where's Google?
Well, I'm saying your intuition. Do you think you'd be able to tell?
I don't believe in Lucifer.
Okay, so if there's an evil thing sitting across from you, would you be able to tell?
Yeah.
Even if it had predating human history, that amount of time of deception. It's been lying for millions upon millions of years. And being able to deceive anything for millions upon millions of years, you still believe that you'd be able to see through that.
I might not be able to see it, but I believe I'd be able to feel it.
I don't think so.
Well, like, when you walk into a room and it's like at a trap house and you feel like the low energy, you feel like the conflict, you feel the pain, like I can feel those things. Or you walk into a house that's like a positive household and it feels homey and calming.
I would say with the trap house, you know that it's a trap house. Let's say everybody moves out of that trap house and there's regular people living in there. Would you still be able to feel that? Because this is what I would say to you. I was going to tell you that I went into the old Charles Camsell here, which is the child psych hospital,
an abandoned one, right?
In Edmonton. It's gone now, and it was closed for about 3 years prior to that. And so, hold on, let me preface this. So have you ever watched any of those horror movies with the, I forget her name. It just came out. I forget her name. She was actually the person who did, I'll put it in the blog, her name. They've got a book out. Her husband's name was Ed something or another. She was a psychic. Anyways, my point is this. People who move into houses that might have a poltergeist in it.
Yeah.
You think they knew that prior to them going in? I would suggest not, because you wouldn't move into a house if you saw a fucking chair fly across the table or across the floor. Like, you're like, I'm out. I'm not buying this bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is you were deceived, and it's all too late until you're in there. And then once you're in there, you have to deal with it. And this is what I'm saying in anything that I've seen from anything of a supernatural spirit world, you are 100% deceived until you're in the middle of it. Like you wouldn't know that a little girl can speak Latin better than I can. She's 5.
Yeah.
5. So like, where was the deception in that? That little girl's not a little girl. That little girl is a being that's thousands upon thousands of years old, man, in that moment. That's not a little girl I'm looking at. It's like when we look at an addict who's in active use. That ain't Joe Blow. That's Joe Blow who's shooting fucking heroin through his veins, and he'll rob you. That's who that is. It's not Joe Blow anymore. That's fucking addict. You know what I mean? There's a flip. And anybody who's dealt with an addict and active addiction, we all know this. It's almost like they need to go through a moral psychic exorcism. They have to exercise, get that fucking addict out of them in order to become something of normal, okay, or something that isn't going to be a deprivation upon society.
Yeah. Right?
So like, that's what I'm saying I think that's a humbling piece, is if you can say to yourself, I may not know, my intuition can be wrong, however, I'm still protected because of my innocence. Because when we sit there and say that I know, well, then what can happen is, if you want to look at a biblical sense, let's say you go in front of God as a judgment. It's okay, well, guess what? You knew everything. So even the shit that you didn't think you know, I'm judging you on that as well. See, there's a reason why Catholics and a lot of Christians will say, I don't want to know anymore. And the reason why they say that is because ignorance sometimes is bliss. And if you don't know, you can't be judged upon it. Yeah. Priests are held at a higher degree because they do know more about their religion and their philosophy. And I'm only using that as a microcosm. But even if we use that law as a law of the universe, the more you know, the more you're held to. The more you know, the more you're going to have consequence against. I would rather know what I know and know that my innocence can protect me from something that I don't know. And I would rather humble myself to accept that I don't know it all and I can't control everything that's happening in my life. Because the second...
you can't really control it, but you can influence it drastically prior to it even happening.
Well, I would suggest that you can influence it through what you're producing. Like I'm not going to be superstitious enough to believe that if I'm having a shitty day, my next meeting's going to be shitty.
Yeah, I don't believe in that.
I don't think that that's a possibility. It's going to be what it's going to be, and it's up to me to deal with what it is and what the outcome is going to be, right? Anyways, I'll get back to that Royal Alec thing. The Charles Camsell. So me and this girl I was dating was very, very young. We were around this hospital, this child psych hospital. We wanted to get in there, and we tried to look for any way that we could to break into this hospital. And finally, the security guard was walking around, and I thought, well, fuck, whatever. I'll just ask him if we can go in. I'm pretty sure that he let us in because that place was wired for, like, video everywhere. And he just wanted to see us, like, fuck it out, basically, in that hospital. I'm almost positive that's why he let us in there. But anyways, prior to us trying to get in there, lights would flicker and stuff in the hospital. When you'd walk by, you would see strange things. And I'm like, you know what? There's probably just like bullshit in the fucking windows or whatever, right? So anyways, we got in there and we took the elevator to the top floor. The top floor was fine. However, everything's in heightened because you're already off. Your senses are off, okay? And it's strange. You know,
an abandoned hospital.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, like going into a trap house. You know it's a trap house, so you're already primed for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? To a degree. And that's what I'm saying. Like my perception, even now as I repeat this story, I'm saying that there was a bias in my feelings as I'm walking in there because I was already on edge and nerve. Okay? And so I'm looking around, and definitely for sure in that hospital there's hot and cold spots that you could feel.
Yeah.
So me and this girl, I think her name was Amanda, we decided to go to the floor beneath the floor we were in. There's some heebie-jeebies there. But unfortunately, when we went to the floor, when we were trying to get to the floor beneath us, the elevator wasn't working. So we went and took the stairs. It should have been the clue. You know? Like, the elevator's not working. You might want to just leave. Right? Like, if you have to leave fast, the elevator doesn't fucking work. Okay? So anyways, we go to the floor underneath, and that was scary. Like, I've done house blessings and stuff that were pretty scary through the Catholic Church. And the feeling on that floor was unbelievable. It was very, very strange. And so anyways, we're walking through, and we got to, like, the nurse's station at the front. You remember the old 386s? 386 computers with the orange and black screens?
Yeah.
When you would shut them off, you could see ghosted out what was on the screen. No word of a lie. Every room was there, and it had deceased on the right-hand side. Like they were all dead, right? And then when we were looking through the, through the drawers, they had like cards, children's cards with kids' names in them saying, get well soon. And then you just see this fucking deceased thing. Then all of a sudden, this girl that I was with couldn't move. She had paralysis, could not move. And she was backed against the wall of the hallway where the nurse's station was. She started hyperventilating. I kind of started freaking out. I was like, this is fucked. This is fucked. So we then didn't even try to use the elevator. We just hit the stairs and went down. So we got to the main floor, and this security guard was really fucking creepy. But I guess the Edmonton police at that time used to use that facility to do shootouts and shit, like hostage takings and mock things up, right? For training purposes. So anyways, we got our wits together and we're like, fuck, let's check out the morgue. You know, like, we're already scared, might as well, right? So we went to the morgue, and that was fine. There's no problems there. And then we realized that there was like this theater just off the morgue. That was the operating room. That was the most I've felt rooms where there's death, that death has happened. Okay, you walk into a room, and probably in my past, there's been more than one person that's died in a particular room that I've been in. Right? You feel that death because you know it. So before that, before any conception of that feeling, in that operating theater, I had that feeling of death when I looked at the filters at the on like the grits on the bottom of the floor, knowing that that's where the blood went. So I I didn't even put it together. I saw the steel table, the chrome stainless steel table. Then I looked to the floor, and there was grates underneath the table, and that's where the fucking blood goes, because it was an old school operating room. And then when I looked up, I saw that light that they pulled down.
Yeah.
And then I realized how many people had probably died in that fucking room. And that's when, like, the hairs on my back went up, and the hairs on my arms went up. I got goosebumps, the whole nine, man. Like, I was mind blowing, and I didn't know anything about the history of that building prior to walking in there, really. So I left, and this was early. Like, the internet wasn't the internet like it is today, and so I left, and I went home. I didn't even get laid that night because we were too fucking scared, basically. And my mom's looking at me. She's like, fuck, you're pretty white. Did you smoke some dope or something? And I'm like, no. And I didn't even want to talk about it. For a long time, I didn't talk about it. And so anyways, a couple years later, when internet was better and you could get information, I looked up. So this is the other fucked thing. So Amanda's aunt that she was staying with was like an executive director for Alberta Health Services here in Alberta for addictions. Sorry, she wasn't an executive director. She was like a care manager. They were going to put Henwood, which is one of the fucking treatment centers here in Edmonton, in that hospital. But they decided not to put it in that hospital because they weren't sure if people would actually see shit or they would have DTs. So they stopped. That's why they didn't use that hospital to expand detox or any of that stuff. So anyways, outside of that, like I said, a couple of years later, I actually looked up what the Charles Camsell was before they closed it. Yeah. And there was some serious abuse that happened to children in that hospital, man. It was really, really bad. And there were deaths of kids that happened in that hospital, like, oh, your kid got pneumonia, but probably the kid was beaten to death. You know, like that kind of stuff was happening there. And there's a lot of fucked up things that happened at the Charles Camsell. And I was probably one of the last people to really get in there without having to break in, you know? And I'm pretty sure, like I said, that security guard just wanted to see some like two young fucking teenagers screwing their brains out. But it's too fucked up. And we kept asking him, like, you ever see anything in here? And he just like, he wouldn't talk about it. He just wouldn't say anything, like any of his experiences in there. And when we asked him where the morgue was, he wouldn't even walk into the morgue. I almost thought that he wasn't even real. Yeah. Like, that's what I thought. And I was like, no, he was physically real. And then I thought to myself afterwards, like, maybe we made all this stuff up because we were so hyped up in the beginning of it. Yeah. But I even have a hard time justifying that in my head at this point. I kind of think like I know what happened. You know, the feelings that happened and all that stuff probably was a hype up because of the things that we had seen before. But her getting paralysis was pretty real. Like, I couldn't move her. Like, I couldn't pull her from the position that she was in.
How long did that last?
God, in my mind, it was like an hour. You know, it was probably minutes, though. And she was just a little girl. Like, she was like maybe 110 pounds, 115 pounds, maybe. And she couldn't move. And she was looking at something. And we never talked about it again, man. Like, you know, summer love kind of thing, you know, like it was a fling. Yeah. She's from Nova Scotia somewhere. And yeah. Like that's what we never talked about that shit again. It was pretty fucked up.
I had this ex-girlfriend, and I was staying at my buddy's place, and it was an old house. It was probably built right around the turn of the century. And I was by myself one day, and I was doing dishes, and like I was just tidying up a little bit. The place was a disaster. I was in like the heat of my drug use, and I remember I was washing dishes, and like right behind me is the stove.
Mm-hmm.
And the stove door opened and slammed shut right fucking behind me. And I was in the house by myself. And I was so fucking scared. And I at this time, I'm like, what? Like, I think I was 28, right? It was a few years ago, 27. And I just started laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, and then I was like, then I'd pose, like, an open-ended question to them, like, hey, good day for shit scaring. Ha 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 ha. Right on, guys. And then I told my buddy about it when he got back, and he's like, yeah, man, this place is fucking haunted. Like, he's like, I made friends with them because they fucked with me so much that I just didn't want to be scared anymore.
Yeah,
so now I just, like, they keep fucking with me, but now I take it as another entity living here. And he's like, yeah, I think it was there was 2 young indigenous female twins that were killed here. And they're still living here. So they like to play games. And I'm like, that's fucked up, bro. Like, that's the trippiest shit. So I had this like ex-girlfriend at the time who I would still like casually take for a spin.
Yeah.
And so I called her over. I'm like, let's go for a spin. Come over to my house. And she's like, oh, okay. She comes over and, like, whatever, we did our thing. And then I took off to go do something. I'm like, yeah, just stay here. Like, she was transient, like couch surfing, whatever. And when I came back, she looked really fucked up. She was like pale white. Her lips were blue. And she was like rocking back and forth with a blanket wrapped around her. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She's like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. Like, we got to leave right now. Let's go. And she's like, I'm like, no, like, I'm not fucking going anywhere. She's like, this place is haunted. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Like,
for sure it is. She's like, no, but like, they want to hurt you. I'm like, well, they haven't hurt me yet.
yeah.
And, yeah, it was fucked up. So that was like my most recent, like, kind of like haunted experience that I've had. I've heard stories that the old Edmonton Remand was haunted.
Yeah.
Especially like by like the old school guards that did a lot of time there. I think something about a horse.
I heard about.
I heard that like they hear like this horse like the trot like or like the clop like
that Remand isn't that old. That Remand was built in like 82.
Yeah.
So it's not that old for horses. But I've heard like if you go up to Solitaire, up on the top floor, I think is where it is, right? Because it's all black or whatever. They have they hear screams, and you don't know if it's the inmates or if it's just like the facility. Because there's never a block that's ever not used. Like they pack it up, right? So yeah, like in Solitaire or whatever, or detention, right? I've heard that there's screams. This is one that just came to mind. I remember this from Ottawa when I lived in Ottawa. They have the first penitentiary in Ottawa, and the last hanging was in Ottawa, in the penitentiary that's downtown. It's the hostel now, but nobody sleeps in the hostel. Like, nobody lasts a night.
Why?
So they'll give you a tour, like Ottawa's ghost tours, right? So I've done the Edmonton ghost tours. That's a joke. Like, no, I'm not trying to kill, like, I'm not trying to fucking shit on Edmonton ghost tours, but there's some crazy shit that's happened here, but not like Ottawa. Ottawa is a very old town. You know what I mean? It's an old city. So anyways, they take you up into the old penitentiary. And when you get to death row, there's literally like a bunch of cells. And then there's a sliding door in the cell that's in the middle. So they all work themselves into the middle. And the middle cell's the guy who's dying. And the way how it works is they slide like a barn door open, and there's a fucking pole, and they just push you out. That's it, man. And you hang off of like the 4th fucking floor. That's it. They will pay anybody $2,000 to stay in that cell for a night. Nobody has done it. Nobody. And I'm telling you, sure, it's hyped. So I'll say I had a feeling bias for sure. But they will not open that door and allow people to walk by the cell. Because there's been more than one instance where people have been pushed and almost to their death out the fucking door. Like, you can't walk by. So it's like a hallway on both sides. And in the middle, that's where the barn door is that they slide open, and they just basically chuck you out of the fucking cell. So it's like a cell walk in the front.
Yeah.
And then all the cells are in the back, and then the wall of the building is on the opposite side of that. And then the door, the killing door, is right in the middle. And so when you're in Ottawa and you see it from the outside, you'll see like this barn door up at the top by the peak of the roof.
Yeah.
And above that door, there's a pole that sticks out, and there's still the rope that hangs down and to the inside of the building.
Yeah.
And they basically just slip the noose on you and chuck you out. And that's it. And the person who's telling you this story is like, you would hear their body hit the fucking wall. Like, that's because they just threw you out and put the noose on you, throw you out, close the door, and then you'd hear the
come back and swing and hit against it.
Hit the door. So as you're walking through that, kid you not, you like, I don't know if they set it up or whatever it is, but you hear the. You're like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's pretty scary. But anybody who tries to stay there overnight, that's what they hear all night long. That's how it starts. They're fucking out of there. But they'll give you $2,000. Anybody who can stay in that cell for the night, they'll give you $2,000. Nobody has been able to do it.
I want to go do it.
There's people.
I'll do it.
They have pictures of people who like walk out of there pissed their pants because they lost all sense of fucking time. And it's dark. Like, they won't give you a light. There's no light. Like, so it's dark. So imagine being in a dark room. Like, you and I have been in a dark room where they shut the lights off, but you know that they're going to turn them on again, hopefully in the morning. So you can kind of go in that place in your mind. They're like, it's so dark you lose perception. Like, 15 minutes is like fucking a day in your head. Like, is this almost over yet? Like, that's where you go right away. Like, it's a fucking time warp. And I'm not saying, like, I'm sure there's other people who've done time and are not mental midgets who've tried to do it. That's like old Kingston Pen. My dad did time in Kingston Pen, man. And some other guys that I know have done time in Kingston Pen. They're like, that place is fucked.
Well, even like Spy Hill.
Yeah,
in Alberta.
I've heard that place is fucked.
In Calgary, okay. That was the last place in Alberta where they hung somebody to death.
Mm-hmm.
Was at Spy Hill, so they say.
Yeah.
And
you could look it up. I'm sure that there's
that's like an old barred jail.
Yeah.
And like, they have like the button that all the doors go.
Well, that's how they do it. That's how the fort is. The fort's the same way. They have the panel, and that's how they unlock all the doors. It's by button. It's a panel.
Yeah, no, but like they don't at the fort. You don't have the bars, right?
Yeah,
like you're actually in a cell with bars.
Yeah.
And that place is pretty creepy. I never had any real dramatic experiences there.
Yeah,
But for the last place they hung somebody in Alberta, that's a spot.
Like I said, if you're in the Ottawa area or going to Ottawa, go check that out. Come fall, they do the ghost walk or the ghost tour, and that scared the shit out of me. That was pretty strange to feel that.
My old lady did the ghost tour here like a couple years ago.
It's a joke.
Yeah, she says it's pretty cheesy.
Yeah, it wasn't that great, really.
You did it too?
Yeah, I did it in comparison. Because I did Ottawa, and then I was kind of high. Like, it was right before things went crazy in my life. Sure. So it was like smoking weed and maybe using a little bit of coke, but I hadn't really jumped off into the pool of the depths of fucking the life yet,
Yeah.
And so like that's what I was in an interval, I guess, something of sobriety. And then here I did it sober.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not. I mean, Edmonton's got pretty good history. It's always been the gate to the west. So like there's always crazy shit that's happened. Well, crazy thing about Edmonton is if you were to see where the real water line is of the North Saskatchewan, you'd be blown away at how deep the North Saskatchewan really is. Like what we see of the North Saskatchewan is actually just the bottom channel. The North Saskatchewan is like this isn't going to be relevant, I don't think, to anybody listening except for anybody who's in Edmonton. But the real water line is from the top of the hill of the Grant Hotel McDonald all the way to the top of like Skona Road. That whole entire river valley that we have would be flooded if the dam were to let go. That's how much water is really in the North Saskatchewan. Like the bridges, everything would be gone.
Where's the dam?
The dam's up by Wabamun.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, man. If you look at the old school pictures of the, so like the North Saskatchewan, what's amazing with the North Saskatchewan is you can still take that from Edmonton to Winnipeg. Like you can take a canoe and you can go. Okay. Yeah. Aside from the dams and all that bullshit, you could go, and you'll probably line up with the Athabasca, and then that's what you take the rest of the way. So people from Thunder Bay on the fur trade, that's how they would get back and forth, was through the North Saskatchewan. And you'll hear them say that they would pull up on the shoreline of Hotel McDonald. That's so you would take your fucking canoe to Hotel McDonald, put it up on the shore, and go to the hotel. They didn't walk up no fucking hill. The water was right there. That's why you see all the erosion. Because that erosion is where the river was going through. And like when you look at the bridges are put into sandstone. Well, where do you think the sandstone came from? It's the fucking river. Like that river's huge. You would have never thought that, right? Looking at it. But then when you see where it's level and level, if you could see that line, even if you went to Hotel Mac, you would see the levelness of like Skona Road, like the hill of Skona Road.
Yeah, south side versus north side. And then,
you would see that line where they almost line up by eye even. Everything in the middle was flooded. Like that's huge when you really see how big the river was.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. That's what innovation of humans did with dams. So that's how much power that thing gives us. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of hydropower, man, out of that dam.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways.
Completely irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Like Edmonton has pretty crazy history.
Yeah.
But like, it was kind of Wild Westy here. Like you had fur traders killing each other all the time. Like if you know the old Transit Hotel here in Edmonton, that thing's fucking haunted for sure. 100% that thing is. It was the first whorehouse in the West. Like legal whorehouse.
Really?
100%. Yeah, man.
Yo, we should see if we could put a studio there.
And then like the Transit Hotel was like so it was a whorehouse, but it was like the lesser of, like it was on your way to Fort Saskatchewan. That's why the trail is there.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah, it looks like an old saloon.
Well, it was built pre-1910.
Really?
Yeah, man. Look it up.
I'm going to go check it out.
It's pretty crazy. That's like same thing with
I heard that place the
one that burned.
La Boheme.
La Boheme, yeah. That's old too.
Yeah, it's like this old brick
French style looking, French colonial looking building.
Yeah. And they have a pretty high class restaurant there.
Yeah. Well,
it's pretty expensive.
It's not good. I've eaten
there. It's not the best, but it's expensive. Hey, but that place is haunted, apparently.
The Strat.
They say that
the Strathcona?
No, the La Boheme.
Yeah, but the Strathcona, like the Strat on White Ave.
Oh yeah.
That's just as old as Hotel Mac. Hotel McDonald? That thing's fucking for sure haunted. Same thing with the commercial.
It was on fire a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. The commercial's haunted too, buddy. Believe you me. Like they're fucking right that thing is.
What's the commercial?
Blues on White.
Oh, Blues on White. Okay.
The hotel. That thing is for sure fucking haunted. Like it's fucked in that place, man. It's fucked up. I think it's junkies in that place that haunt it.
Dead junkies?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of dead junkies in there. Same thing with the first one that we were talking about, Transit.
Yeah.
When I was a locksmith in my younger years, I opened up a door with a dead hooker in there.
What?
Yeah. So they lost the key, which was like forever happening at the Transit, and didn't smell or anything yet, you know. And so I picked the lock. We get in there. There's a dead hooker on the fucking floor. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the most fucked up thing was like the hotel manager was like freaking out, and I was calm as a cucumber. It's like seen this before, man. Like, what the fuck? Why are you freaking out? Like, it's not that bad, really.
Yeah.
Anyways, we should probably wrap this up. We're an hour in.
Already?
Yeah.
It's fun talking about ghosts.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for signing on. You can find the After the Show blog at www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com. And we'd like for you to drop your email there so we can put you on our email list and send you cool stuff about the show, and we'll not give your email to anybody, we promise. Cross our hearts, hope to die.
And we're on a new platform. We went to a thing called minds.com. Why are we on minds.com? Because Facebook is notorious for censoring people.
Minds?
So minds.com is a blockchain that's just like Facebook. And what they do is they do not censor you, and they can't stop any of your content, and you can contribute to us through Bitcoin or any other kind of cryptocurrency that they have on that platform. You will get the blog there, and you will also get a clip and a link to the podcast page. So go check out minds.com, punch in Life on Life's Terms podcast, one word, and the page will be there.
Sick.
Yeah, have a beautiful Friday. Bye for now.
Bye.